Welcome to the award-winning Champions Mojo. Hosts Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker are world record-setting masters athletes, authors, and performance coaches that are committed to connecting you with champions and experts from swimming and to other inspiring people and topics. And now this week's Micropod.
Okay, Maria. So Kurt Dickson, amazing, deep interview. This is such a powerful interview. I think you and I are both we're reeling from being inspired and thinking about things we normally don't think about.
Yeah.
What an honest and just an amazing champion. And we've figured out what drives him, right? I mean, that's really amazing.
M&Ms.
Besides M&Ms. Yes.
That was refreshing. That was refreshing to hear that he ate M&Ms. First, I think one of the themes, especially throughout the beginning of the interview, was just that he really believes that his consistency is what has helped him stay fast and stay, doing these amazing things in the water. He swims 6 days a week, but he doesn't swim hard 6 days a week. He swims 6 days a week, no matter what. And he talked about the days where, leading up to meets where he doesn't go as hard, and that's hard for a guy who's works a different schedule almost every day. He finds a place to do it. So I was really I just love that. We have to rest. And as older athletes, we have to lay off a little bit. The consistency part, though, is what we can easily pull from our maturity. So I love that as a masters athlete. I love that we're just going to be consistent.
Yeah. And that came under the question of, how are you staying fast?
Right.
And he says, I just keep showing up.
Yeah. 6 days a week.
I love that. The other, why? Why we love as coaches why someone's doing something.
Right.
That is like the number one thing that we all should ask ourselves when we do anything.
Right.
Why am I doing this? What am I getting out of this?
Right.
And I loved that he said it makes him feel alive.
Yeah.
And it gives his life meaning.
Yeah.
I mean, that for me, if you can find something that makes you feel alive and gives yourself meaning. And I have the same, I know that he said that. And if you watched his facial expressions, maybe you're just listening to this on audio, but I have the same internal struggle where I think, why do I get so much joy of swimming in a box, looking at a black line and going back and forth? Why does it matter what my time is? It just seems so silly in the grand scheme of the world. But I love that he gives himself permission to say, this makes me feel alive and it gives my life meaning. And I totally relate to that. And I know a lot of athletes that are listening do too. And so, hey, give yourself permission.
Yeah, I truly love that too. And also completely identified with that. This morning, I got up and thought, I don't feel good, and I didn't want to get on the bike, but I did. And I was like, yeah, that's the medicine that gets me through every day in part. Yeah. So
what's your second thing?
The second one I just loved is he kind of talked about talent versus distance. I'm not sure what the real takeaway on this is, but I've noticed it myself. Like if you've got a lot of talent, you can on the bike, produce big power numbers or whatever, you can do big things, but as you age, those are blunted but you can always go further. And so, he again, very self-deprecating, used a lot of humor and he was very funny. But I loved how he said, if once you run out of the talent end, you can just always go a little bit longer. And that's certainly what he's done. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there is a takeaway there. And I don't think it has to be just for older athletes, and that is that sometimes you just outwork people. There's somebody that you may be going up against somebody that's more talented, but you just outwork them. And I totally relate to, I swim the mile because there's not as many people in it because it's a little harder to do. So I love that one.
Yeah.
I love that. My second one was, we love to hear how people deal with performance anxiety. We all have it, whether it's in the pool or doing a triathlon or in life. And, his job as an ER doctor, when he said, we asked him, how do you deal with performance anxiety? And he said, I have people bringing me dying babies and I just got goosebumps, so
in other words, I really know what's important.
I know what's important. And this is not pressure. Swimming a meet, being in pain is not pressure when I put it in the grand scheme of the world. And I love that. And that's always a good tool for performance anxiety. Okay. Why are we freaking out? Who's really watching this? Maybe a handful of people. So that's really true. And it was beautifully put. He said he used to have performance anxiety, but now that, he's had a lifetime of dealing with true horrible, things in the ER, he understands better what's really important. Well, my last takeaway was maybe one of the most important things I've heard in terms of dealing with obstacles. He talked about some really tough things he's been through, especially lately, the last couple of years. And he observed that he could break these, how he thought about these down into kind of three different areas, the spiritual, how should he think about it from a spiritual level, should he, about forgiveness and so forth. And then the intellectual, how you deal with it with an intellectual level. He was saying, thinking about somebody who'd hurt him was just eating him up, and so he had to learn to okay, I gotta, not just forgive, but I gotta remove myself from these, these thoughts or these people. And finally, and this one is, I think I related to him the best, the primitive level. And that's where you just go and you make yourself suffer in the pool or on the bike. And that's cathartic. That brings out all the poisons. And so I just love that, when you're overcoming obstacles, you can think of it. There's spiritual components, there's intellectual components, and then there's this primitive physical body components. And I know that in the past, when I've really been hurting, getting, out there running or getting on the bike or swimming, doing anything hard physically really did seem to help. So I thought that was excellent. You should definitely listen to the full interview and get to that last part. That last question you asked was beautiful. And your third takeaway? Well, definitely when he was giving that answer, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so Maria. This is just Maria and primal, getting down to that primal section. So my last takeaway, we're going to end on a kind of a funny note. The whole interview was very, very full of humor. Kurt has just got a lot of humor going on. And I asked him if his body composition had changed, because we're all getting, when you get over 50, your body composition does change almost no matter how consistent you are with your workouts. Right. You almost have to go above being consistent and to do something to not have your body change. And as someone who he said something about his stomach being extra flotation. I totally get that. And no matter how much I'm training, it's reassuring for us to know that you can still perform at a high level when your body does change and not let it freak you out, say, okay, well, now that I've gained, 10 extra pounds. I mean, he literally said he weighed 180 in college and he's 220 now.
Yeah.
So he must be pretty
155 in college.
Oh, 155. Well, it's a lot different, but I think that was just such a fun takeaway that, hey, this guy eats M&Ms. He's got a little extra flotation around his middle and he's still out there just crushing it. So, so that was my last takeaway.
Yeah. It's great. He was terrific.
It was so great. It's going to be fun to see how he does at nationals this week.
Yep.
All right. Love you, Maria.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Palace and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @Champions Mojo.